In 2150, Earth launched a space probe to the distant planet Tanis after discovering it to be highly suitable for human habitation. At this time, Earth's population had reached a staggering 20 billion, and a crisis of food and water scarcity led to continual global conflict. The urgency of planetary migration was clear. 20 years later, the massive spaceship Elysium was launched, carrying 60,000 carefully selected volunteers and a collection of Earth's biosphere samples to colonize Tanis. The journey was expected to take 123 years. During the voyage, only 3 crew members were to remain active at a time, with rotations every 2 years while the rest entered hibernation pods. However, long-term hibernation had significant side effects. Would they successfully reach their new home? One man, just awakened from his hibernation pod, expected to be greeted by crew members as per protocol, but found the area deserted. The surroundings were dark, with signs of electrical short circuits and dust-covered control panels. The adjacent pods were empty, and another team member, Peyton, had not yet awakened. Suffering from memory confusion due to the prolonged sleep, the man initially couldn't recall anything. After surveying his surroundings, he remembered his name was Bauer. He tragically found the duty cabin door sealed, with signs of tampering but impossible to open. Unable to awaken Peyton, Bauer felt trapped like a rat in a jar, at risk of starvation. He speculated that something catastrophic had happened to the ship. Just as he was coming to terms with his dire situation, a loud rumbling unexpectedly woke Peyton. After some communication and piecing together their fragmented memories, they understood their awkward predicament. They had been in hibernation for 8 years. Fortunately, Peyton was familiar with the ship's operating system and managed to activate the duty cabin's backup power. They tried to contact others, but strangely there was no response. Another violent shake suggested a problem with the ship's nuclear reactor. As Bauer's memory partially returned, he realized he was a technical engineer. Their immediate priority was to escape the confined space by opening the cabin door. Following instructions, he entered the ventilation ducts in search of an exit. The ducts were extremely narrow, and while navigating a slope, Bauer fell, landing next to a dead body. Bauer managed to escape through the ventilation duct, but unfortunately, his radio was damaged in the process, severing his communication with Peyton. Without Peyton's remote guidance, he had to navigate blindly through the darkness. Suddenly, he saw a woman's figure flash by in the duct. As he attempted to follow her to ask for information, she knocked him down with a punch and stole his possessions. Soon after, a beast-like growl sounded nearby and the woman disappeared without a trace. Then, a white figure dragged away the corpse. Bauer fled in terror, finally getting a clear look at the monster, a terrifying, white humanoid creature. Just then, his radio miraculously started working again, and he heard Peyton's voice. A shaken Bauer quickly reported the situation to Peyton. As their memories gradually returned, they remembered this was a one-way space colonization mission, with 60,000 passengers in deep sleep, headed to the planet Tanis. They needed to control the ship and eliminate the monsters, but a reactor malfunction had damaged all systems. They had to restart the reactor manually. Guided by Peyton, Bauer bravely decided to take explosive weapons and venture towards the reactor for a manual restart. However, before he got far, he found a person trapped in an obvious monster trap and rescued them. They were soon chased by a group of monsters, and the person Bauer had just saved was killed. Bauer was also caught in a trap, but a warrior named Jason, a farmer, suddenly appeared and saved him. Jason, hearing of Bauer's plan to repair the reactor, decided to join him. On their way, they encountered the mysterious woman, Nadia, again. Nadia, an environmental scientist, also decided to join them in repairing the reactor. Meanwhile, Peyton, who stayed in the duty cabin, suddenly heard noises from the ventilation ducts. Fearing it was the monsters, he was surprised to find a young man named Gallo calling for help. Gallo claimed to be a member of the command crew. Peyton eagerly asked what had happened to the ship, but Gallo, suffering from after effects as well, couldn't remember anything. The scene shifts back to Bauer and his companions, who quietly reach the centralized hibernation area for the crew. To their shock, they found most of the hibernation pods empty. They soon discovered the grim truth. Bauer and Nadia accidentally fell into a trap filled with hundreds of skeletons. The monsters had been using the crew hibernation area as their feeding ground, eating anyone who awoke. Passing through the monsters' dining room was not easy. Although they managed to kill a monster, the noise and blood attracted more of them. The trio quickly fled and hid in a sealed storage tank, where they encountered an extremely frightened old man. The old man, seeing they meant no harm, kindly cooked them food. While resting, Nadia speculated that the monsters might not be an alien species, but mutated passengers of the ship. She explained that everyone had been injected with a synthetic enzyme during hibernation to adapt to the new planet's environment. However, continued use after awakening could cause genetic mutations. With no food source, the awakened crew resorted to cannibalism, leading to their monstrous transformation. The old man, after hearing this, revealed that the truth was far more sinister. Through wall paintings, he narrated the origin of the horrific monsters. Many years ago, the 3 crew members on duty received a message from Earth that it had been destroyed due to resource plundering, leaving them as the only surviving humans. One crew member, despairing and affected by after effects, went mad and killed the other 2. Refusing to return to hibernation and free from legal and moral constraints, he played God, awakening some crew members and driving them to the cargo bay to create a free kingdom where they fought for survival. Tiring of the game, he returned to hibernation, leaving the people to devolve into monsters. As the old man finished his story, Bauer, Nadia, and Jason suddenly fell unconscious, realizing too late that the old man had drugged their food. Bauer, realizing the dire situation, informed the old man that the ship's reactor was increasingly malfunctioning and would self-destruct within an hour. He emphasized that he was the only surviving technical engineer, and that failure to repair the reactor would mean the end of everything. After much consideration, the old man decided to release them. Bauer quickly used the old man's radio to contact Peyton, who, after checking the database, confirmed that the power system could only last for another 47 minutes. They had very little time left. Gallo, who had appeared earlier, was evasive and claimed he only remembered receiving a message about Earth's destruction and that his 2 teammates had killed each other due to insomnia-induced after effects. He couldn't recall anything else. Peyton, suspecting Gallo might have killed his teammates, kept a tranquilizer gun ready for defense. When Gallo learned the ship would destroy itself in less than an hour, his demeanor changed completely. Not believing Bauer and the others could make it through the monsters, he suggested that Peyton escape by launching the hibernation pod, offering a slim chance of survival. In a sudden aggressive move, Gallo tried to take the tranquilizer gun and hold Peyton hostage, demanding to be launched into space. However, Peyton managed to trap him in a hibernation pod instead. Guided by Peyton, the group quickly found a shortcut to the reactor. Passing through the area where the crew's families were in hibernation, Bauer had a flash of memory. He suddenly realized that the Peyton guiding them was not the middle-aged man he remembered. But with no time to ponder this mystery, they hurried on. Upon reaching the reactor, they were shocked to find it overrun with monsters. The lower level of the reactor was filled with sleeping monsters. As Bauer was about to restart the reactor, the old man's bracelet accidentally fell, awakening the sleeping monsters. The monsters, seeing the living humans, surged towards them like a tidal wave. In this critical moment, Jason bravely distracted most of the monsters, buying time for the others. Bauer successfully restarted the reactor, restoring the spaceship's functionality. They attempted to return the way they came, but the remaining monsters were too many, and Jason was killed in the battle. Meanwhile, Gallo, taking advantage of the ship's restoration, managed to escape from the hibernation pod and seized a tranquilizer gun. A bizarre revelation followed. Gallo and Peyton's arms started to merge, and their tattoos were identical. In an instant, Gallo vanished, leaving no one else in the duty cabin. It turned out that Gallo and Peyton were the same person, 2 different personalities created by the after effects of deep sleep, one benevolent, seeking to save the ship, and the other malevolent, playing God. This older individual, in his youth, had killed 2 crewmates and driven tens of thousands of passengers into the cargo hold to fend for themselves, later returning to hibernation. He was the creator of the monsters. At this moment, the old man who had first escaped was killed by Gallo. Bauer and Nadia, after a harrowing escape, returned to the duty cabin to find it empty. They rushed to the cockpit, where they discovered 2 long-dead skeletons. Bauer confronted Gallo, who tried to continue his deception, but Bauer had already deduced his true identity. Gallo then opened the cockpit skylight, revealing not the Starisky but utter darkness. They realized that their ship had long since crashed on Tanis and more than 900 years had passed. A struggle ensued between the three, but Boer and Nadia were no match for Gallo. Boer, in a desperate move, shot at Gallo, inadvertently shattering the skylight. The water pressure soon broke the glass and seawater flooded into the spaceship. Gallo died, and Bauer, regaining clarity, quickly pulled Nadia into a hibernation pod and ejected it just in time. Simultaneously, the ship's flooding triggered an automatic emergency evacuation, launching all remaining hibernation pods. Bauer, Nadia, and a few others were lucky enough to surface and survive. This year marked the first year of Tanis, with a total population of 1,213 people. When humans lose their mother planet and the constraints of morality and law, they become a new kind of human. What would this situation be like? Would they follow their instincts and unleash their animalistic nature, or maintain clarity and preserve their humanity?